congratulations, Renard.
Yes, my third baby came yesterday.
Everyone's okay?
Everybody's well. Mom and baby boy are good.
Yeah.
So
What's his name?
Cam.
Cam?
Yeah. So all is well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it a big change when you go from 2 to 3, you think? Or, I mean, I know you just had the baby yesterday, but
I'm sure I'll find out pretty quick here. I've heard we're in Zone D now, so. But yeah, it's awesome. It's one of the best days of your life, so it's great.
Just looking ahead of this season, obviously, get past the disappointment of last season. How long does that take, and then now the focus on the new year?
I think it has to happen right away. Yeah, I think it's always going to be with you. Like even for guys who are no longer on this team, like you always are gonna have that feeling because you're so close. So, but I think having learned from years past, you got to put the past behind you. You got to move on. Fresh year, everybody starts at zero. There's always a new team that comes up and surprises people, and standings change, playoff teams change, and you want to be one of the teams that are in the mix. And obviously, we have pretty high aspirations.
You not to belabor the point, but it must be difficult being a notable Edmonton Oiler walking around all summer. You walk up to someone and the first thing they want to do is talk about your Stanley Cup, and you're trying to move on from it and forget about it. Is the process difficult because everyone wants to talk hockey all the time?
Nah, I mean, funny enough, it's always positive. It's never negative in the sense that we didn't win. It's always thank you, thank you for giving us such an exciting run and something to cheer for, and we're so super excited about this year. That's really been the message, and I think the key is the excitement into this year. I think that's what you take away.
Is there a theme born from all of that? Like you guys were sort of, you've done this a few times. You come into this season, there's no captain skates, there's a little less urgency maybe in October than there was or September. Is there a theme for this year that comes from all of that?
I guess we'll find out. I think a lot of the times the themes and who you are as a team develop over the course of an 82-game season. It's hard to figure out what your identity is right away. I think every team wants to go into a year, and every team changes from year to year. So your identity in last year isn't necessarily going to be your identity this year, right? So I think training camp is all about figuring out what type of team you are, and every team adapts quite a bit through a season. So you just want to get off to a good start and feel good about the group and yourself going into the season.
Yourself, 50-goal club last year. That's expected out of you this year. It's I don't want to say it, but
Sure.
It's like you get to that point and now people say, he's capable of doing it.
Yeah.
What's it like going into the second year?
No pressure. I mean, honestly, no. No one expected me to score 50 goals last year. Going into a year, I've never been a guy who says, this year I want to score this amount of goals and this amount of assists and this amount of points, because every year is different, and I think for me personally, it's always how can I help the team win, and what can I do to help the team win, and how can I be a better version of myself, and whether that's scoring more or whether that's doing something else, that's something that you figure out along the way. You figure out your role along the way, and pretty confident in what my role is here, and I'm excited to continue to build off of last year. And I think it's just the word of the day, probably just excitement. I think there's a lot of excitement around the group.
Zach, obviously we saw Chris Noblin come in partway through the year, saw the job he could do, but now his first full training camp with this group as a core member of this roster. What's your expectation with Chris Noblin at the helm with his first training camp?
Yeah, it's been great. It's felt like Chris has been our coach for a long time. Obviously, it was a long playoff run, so that it doesn't feel like 1 year. It feels like multiple years last year, in a sense. So we're very familiar with Nobber, and I think this is a really good time for all the new players to familiarize themselves with our team, our systems, the group, and we do have a lot of turnover. So I thought today was great, getting into it, a lot of teaching, a lot of learning, going over things that are extremely important. Yeah, it was a great day.
Revisiting a question I asked you
Sure.
a very long time
Yeah.
December, when Chris Noblin his second month on the
Yep.
job. We asked about his composure and what he does on the bench. Now that you've seen his composure, the way he kind of conducts himself on the biggest of stages in hockey, can I ask you that question again? What kind of an impact does his presence have on the bench?
It's funny, same as it did when he first came in, really. Like, I think he hasn't changed as a coach. He's been that steady presence, like I probably answered back in December when you asked. Calming presence behind the bench. Just unfazed, I think. Very process-oriented, which is extremely important because hockey is a game of randomness at times. And you could be doing all the right things and the outcome may not be what you want, but I think if you stick with it, it usually turns, and I think he's been a very process-oriented coach, and I think it's been great to have him, and excited about this year, full camp, full year with him, with a new group, so it should be a great year.
If there was ever a day to be just on time for practice, would it be the day after having a baby, or is that like
just on time? It was 9:30 practice. I was at 9:27 and we were just about to start, so
you were good then, right?
well, apparently I wasn't good, but no, it was funny. The guys were giving me a little grief. I was like, we said 9:30. It was 9:27. It was good, so I like to take my time.
What time's the 12 o'clock bus leave, though?
Well, literally, it's 12:05 usually. So, I'm not really for those. But no, it's all good.